Hey, what's up guys, Aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 Road to Glory series in 2020, for episode number 9 today for the Austrian Grand Prix. Last time out, well, there's only one way to explain it. Pierre Gasly won the Grand Prix. We're up into P15, but if you think about it, realistically, that means we're third last in this race, so it's really gone from bad to worse. Meanwhile, an update on Pierre Gasly, he is now winning the Grand Prix. Join you with another special update, and I can confirm once again, Pierre Gasly is still winning the French Grand Prix. So coming off what was a pretty decent Grand Prix in terms of action for us, loads of overtakes, but in the end result wasn't what we wanted. Pierre Gasly dominated that entire Grand Prix. In comparison to him, it was a pretty poor performance there. So we're looking into this next round for some good news to hopefully lift the spirit, and it's gone. 2 out of 3 upgrades have failed on the car for this episode. I mean, it's literally a downward trend this season so far. The last 2 seasons of Road to Glory, it's been pretty decent. We've been getting better and better through the seasons in terms of things not failing on the car in terms of upgrades. This season, the third one, for some reason, things are going backwards, and we're getting more failures as we go on deeper into the career mode season. Very baffling. And also, another thing that's baffled me here, I've only just realised there, look at the difference between the front downforce upgrade and the rear downforce upgrade. We've got the front downforce, tertiary wing flaps, and then rear downforce, rear wing end plates, and then in brackets, downforce. But does that not suggest then the front downforce upgrade, which has come onto the car, the only upgrade that has been installed onto this car for this episode, does not in fact actually produce downforce, because we don't have that secondary bracket? Like, I'm a bit worried in that regard. That's actually really worried me that pretty much, technically, we've got no upgrades on the car then with that, because why the difference between front downforce and rear downforce? Where is the second bracket downforce? But let's not get too negative. It is the Austrian Grand Prix. It's a power circuit, very much so. Our car, pretty much, that's the only attribute it's actually good at, and it's got nothing else going for it. So I think this could be a very decent... Oh, for frick's sake! Are you actually kidding me? Some more rain for another episode of this series. We've had majority wet sessions, either qualifying or the race, in this series so far. Like, we need to rename. It's not the road to glory, it's the canal to glory, the freaking river to glory, presented by Pierre Gasly, because we established last episode he's stealing all the glory so far at Williams as well. The entire series name just needs to be shoved out the window, apparently. Alright, well, let's get this over and done with. We go to qualifying. It's not going to matter where we qualify, let's be honest, because it's going to be an absolute calamity at the start of this Grand Prix with that, what was indicated, heavy rain maybe at the start of Sunday then, but it's all sunny skies on Saturday. I wonder where on earth it's going to go in a matter of a few hours overnight into Sunday. But as we swing through the last few corners then, it's an okay lap from us, P6, but Leclerc and Hamilton going well across the line.
It's a bit disappointing, but we just need to push hard in the race and we can still come away with something.
Disappointed. We've been qualifying in P12 and outside the top 10 as of late, and he's disappointed with us being back in the top 6. We've been out qualified by Gasly again, I know, I get it, but only by about a 10th or so there. At least, you know, it's not the calamity that we had last episode, so I don't know what on earth Jeff's talking about. He needs to get off his high horse there, basically, because, of course, he's delivering a car with, well, we're saying 2, or maybe 3 failed upgrades this weekend, so he can't really talk, can he? But here we go, then. We switch to a very dreary sight of the Austrian Grand Prix. The rain is pouring down, and there is a literal river through the last corner there, pretty much there, with the runoff area looking very wet indeed. So this is going to be a very tricky Grand Prix for us. The issue with this car is it may be great on power and straight line speed, and that's great in the dry, but we saw last episode sometimes the car basically essentially doesn't have enough downforce for the amount of power it has now in the wet, and that's going to make things tricky. I have compromised this setup though. I did run a lot higher wings than I normally would do at Austria, so we may be actually okay somewhat in the corners at the kind of disadvantage of maybe having a little bit less speed than we're used to in this straight. So you might be seeing a few more overtakes maybe having to be done in the brake zones rather than flat out, you know, just full throttle on the straights there. But it's going to be treacherous either way really for us here, with the conditions being heavy rain, but you can see on the indicator here they're saying we need to start an intermediate, so that's quite tricky because the indicator, the symbol there, is 3 droplets, which is usually heavy rain, but they're saying it's not wet enough. It's not going to be wet enough in a few laps for the full wet tyres. So we're all starting with inters, so we're going to be tiptoeing around. We're going to go lower fuel, of course, because our engine is very, very fuel efficient, but that's the only positive I can really see at the start of this episode. And so, once again, we line ourselves up and get ready to go to 5 red lights in wet conditions. I'm getting pretty sick and tired of it, to be honest. But we've just got to get on with it then. So here we go to 5 red lights. Round number 9 of this season, number 3. But already the 500th wet race it feels like we've had as we go to fire lights and we're underway. Initially an okay start there. It's going to be very cautious into turn 1 though, because it's such a tight turn 1. Gasly has a look down the inside of Leclerc. It's nearly 3 wide there. Vettel takes turn 1 in the middle of the circuit, as do I on the exit. Bit of a squirm of oversteer, but we did actually get initially some okay traction versus the German. We bumped this up into rich mode to try and get a move done. Maybe on the outside he goes defensive there. We go on the left hand side, but Gasly's slow. We're going to take a bit of avoiding action there. Somehow still have the car going in the right direction there on the track, and somehow kept it within the white lines to actually overtake and complete the move on Sebastian Vettel. I thought as soon as I saw myself closing up to Gasly so quickly there, I thought that's it. That's the move done. I can't get this move. Vettel's going to get down the inside, but lo and behold, he just didn't have the downforce, I guess, on the front end. And meanwhile, Gasly attacks Leclerc. So maybe both Ferraris are struggling in these conditions as Gasly tries to get up the order. I believe the leader right now is Lewis Hamilton. Shock horror, but in his obviously the pink Mercedes car, or Racing Point these days as it's known in 2020. But we move on then onto lap number 2. Gasly still hounding Leclerc. He goes down the inside. It's a half-hearted move though. Leclerc though is wide, and so Gasly gets it through fully side by side, but Leclerc has the traction on the left. We're now in the middle here. Can we make a move on Gasly? It's so close, but on the right hand side, Gasly moves across us now ahead of us to box us in there and stop us making any sort of move on the left hand side. But obviously he's got the better line to make a move on Leclerc. Doesn't work out. He's a little bit wide. He's a bit slow on the left. We go on the right hand side. Oh, there's contact, and we just somehow narrowly keep the car going in a straight line there. Our engineer is going to say something.
Careful. Remember, you are teammates.
Oh, now he's piping up the high and mighty line of be careful, he's your teammate there. I don't think you said that to him at the Canadian GP. Yes, I'm bringing that back up because I don't think it was said, was it? No, you're very quiet now, Jeff. I know he can't talk back to me, but he's very quiet now. So we continue on then. We live to fight for another day. That was almost just life before flashing before my eyes there, because that could have very easily been straight into the wall. But now we move into lap number 4, setting the purple lap time there, and last sector, very decent into turn 1 there, also to catch up to Gasly somewhat. He's unable to make any ends way on Leclerc now, who's also struggling to keep up with the top 2 of Verstappen, I think that is, and Hamilton in P1 in the Racing Point car. As we move on through to the end of lap number 5, then closing up even more to Gasly, but the yellow flags are out. Virtual safety car is out then. It's going to be because of Lando Norris out of the GP. This gives us some time to save some fuel there and onto ERS and just calm things down, have a bit of a breather and compose ourselves. But this is why Lando Norris already had issues. Our engineer was telling us he had some sort of mechanical issue with the cars. That's why the Racing Point's gone down the inside there very aggressively, but has taken off. Surprise, surprise, his right front tyre there and the suspension arms. And once again, we have another good example of why you all need to donate to the Better Suspension Arms charity organisation for Formula 1 teams, because clearly it's been an ongoing issue really since season 9. I'm pretty sure we had about 2 or 3 crashes that looked exactly like that. Like, I'm talking to a T, exactly like that in season 2 of F1 Road to Glory, I'm pretty sure, at that very corner. So it's a big issue. It doesn't seem to be going away, and I'm sure in the current climate of things, the factories can't exactly manufacture some new, stronger suspension arms. You have to deal with what we've got. It's apparently just looking like paper mache suspension arms, really, but that's really nothing new for the likes of us at Williams, to be real. But here we go then. We're going green once more, and we're getting towards about halfway through this Grand Prix then, but it's already felt like an absolute age to us in these conditions, having to tiptoe around there. You can see already squirming on the rear as we get used to, once again, going at full pelt in these cars in the wet conditions. As we swing through now towards lap number 8, more yellow flags behind us, maybe some more issues for people. Hamilton sets a purple, then Leclerc as well, so everyone ahead of us is trying to speed up here and getting used to these conditions maybe as we come through turn 1 very aggressively. Used a lot of curb, to be fair to us, but we get a good jump on Gasly, who's going very slow now. Leclerc's dropped him so much so there by about a good second a bit, and we go now on the left hand side. Gasly very defensive though. He's better on the brakes, but we're going to make a switchback move here from the left to the right there, get the power down earlier there, and it's going to be a wonderful little overtake. And for the first time in a while, we're looking confident, and we're actually looking like we're doing better than Gasly in the Williams car here in this season. He's taken the kind of spotlight for the last few episodes, but maybe now is time for us to be in the limelight here as we now go chasing after Charles Leclerc. We move on towards lap number 10. This will be green first sector, purple second, bit of a squirm on the exit, but that won't matter. Across the line, and we take the fast lap of the Grand Prix away from Charles Leclerc there in the Ferrari. We are gaining on him, but he's also getting on the leaders, so all 4 of us are bunching up very nicely indeed as we move on towards lap number 13. 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and you know what? I sniff maybe not even the podium. I sniff the victory, you know, because Hamilton there is going very slowly indeed. Taking a wide line through turn 1. We're right up behind Leclerc. We've got plenty of ERS to use, of course, because it drains out a lot less in the wet conditions, and still using rich mix. Despite being rich mix for a lot of this Grand Prix then, we've still managed to save fuel to the point where we're on the teetering edge of being positive. But here we go, just very finely trying to push the car through on the outside there. Don't be too aggressive on the entry or exit to these corners, obviously, in these conditions. And we're up into P3. That was plain sailing, really, versus the man who's looked pretty damn quick this entire Grand Prix. You know, he dropped Gasly, of course, very early on in the race, and then the entire time as I've been closing up to him, he's still been closing up to Verstappen and Hamilton, like I mentioned. So to get him so easily, very decent stuff. And these two seem to be struggling even more than he is now. So all the confidence is with me. It's very rare that I feel very confident in the wet conditions, but I don't know what it is right now. But the car's just going well. I mean, rolling the car through, not being too aggressive on the throttle. A few little glimpses of oversteer here and there, and that kind of power issue you had at France, where the car basically doesn't have enough grip for the power it has. But all in all, okay stuff here. I mean, through the last sector especially, going well on the curbs while riding them very aggressively, not having too many issues with the chassis there. And so we move through onto lap number 14, red for last two sectors, but despite that, catching up to Verstappen, he goes defensive even as well. So that's very flattering for us, and we have a great run through turns 1. That's a horrendous exit for the Dutchman, and we're up into P2 of the Austrian GP. 4 laps to go now, and we can see the race win in sight potentially now as we move on to lap number 15 now. The rain has let up. It's starting to dry out here. You can see no longer any droplets on the screen or falling. It's still very damp out there, so not quite ready for the dry tyres, but now I can sense the victory right in front of us. We've got 3 laps to make the move on Hamilton, but it could be on this lap, you know. He goes towards the middle of the track to be a little bit defensive. We've got some space maybe to work with on the outside. We're going to try and thread this through, but it doesn't work out. Hamilton keeps it there, but on the exit, we've got a great run. Bit of twitch of oversteer, but we're going to keep our footing on the right pedal to go round the outside to try and feed this through. It's so close on the right, but Hamilton just does an inch perfect bit of defensive driving. Fair play to him there. That was so close. Fine margins there. As close as you get it, really, on the outside of that corner. And we have to remain in P2 for now, but for how much longer? Because I feel like it's just a matter of time of if when, if not if, basically, if we get this move done. And so we have DRS now. Yeah, DRS has been activated by the FIA, so they feel like it's safe enough to use, even though all of us have stayed out on the intermediates here, because there's no use. There's only 2 laps. It's a very short lap here, so it's one of the tracks where it's not worth the gamble to go onto dry tyres. But it means we have to take things very easy. So you can see I'm not really making any darting moves, taking it nice and easy on the entry and exit to corners. It's all about the traction pickup, really, and trying to get the power down eventually when we're in the middle gears on the actual straight bit of the circuit. But so far now, corner after corner, Hamilton doing a decent job at maintaining the lead there. We're still within DRS. Verstappen as well. You can see us 3 in a world of our own here, as the others are really struggling for grip. We're still going personal best lap times, despite it being so dry now. It pretty much is time. If there was more laps in this Grand Prix, I would have pitted for dry tyres by now, because we've only got 2 laps. There's no point. And now here we go. We've finally got a great run on Hamilton on the right, close to the grass, but we get the job done. Overtake mode. We are a rich mix as well. Easy does it into this next right-hander in second gear. Give Hamilton some space on the left there, but then we pull it through into the racing line, and we're up into first place of the Austrian Grand Prix for the first time in this race. And now we've just got about half a lap then, and then 1 final lap to go. But you can see the rear end squirming away still. So it really is a survival of the Austrian Grand Prix now, because this track is pretty much now, you can see especially on this camera angle, it's bone dry. It's not time for intermediates at all. These tyres are pretty much, I'll be surprised they're not worn down to the point where you can't even see the grooves on the rear parts of the tyres. Because look at that tyre wear there, 64%. I mean, 70%, you're getting towards puncture territory, and it's been a horrendous exit through the last corner. And on the last lap, Hamilton goes for the move. He's got it back into first place. We're easy on the entry, cut back in for a tighter line, try and get the power down earlier than Hamilton once again to get the move back in a straight line here. Overtake mode, DRS activated once again, and on the left this time near to the grass on that side of the circuit, we're back up into first place. Easy does it. The rear end really steps out there. You can see had a massive wobble. That actually helps me out in some kind of way, because Hamilton had to kind of lift off to not hit the back of me, and that's backed him up into Verstappen there. So got a bit of breathing room now as we go on now through into the next 2/3 of this circuit. We're just going to take this corner by corner really and kind of feel what the car's telling us on this circuit. But you can see really just how much is squirming every single exit there. And Hamilton and Verstappen now, the AI car's really decent in these kind of conditions when, you know, the traction's the most important thing, and smoothness is king. The AI are so good at it, so they're catching back up to me right so into Sector 3 now, and we're trying to also save some fuel as well at the same time and make sure we're not going to kind of blow this on the exit with too much power delivery on the rear end. You can see a massive snap into the last corner. Hamilton has a look around the outside, but we're going to hold this through surely to run to the line for first place at the Austrian Grand Prix.
Great job. You've done everything we wanted today.
And it's felt like an absolute age, you know. It's felt like an absolute age since we've had glory like this in the team. It's been the Pierre Gasly show up until now for the last few episodes, but it's now our time to shine.
Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
It looks like it's time once again to hand out the silverware as the successful drivers make their way to the podium. It was a gritty performance today by Williams, and they've got the race win to prove it.
Mega feeling here to be back on the top step of the podium, and no smug Frenchman in a Williams overall in sight. Brilliant stuff there. You love to see it. Back at where we belong, really. Now, I think that's now 2 apiece wins. It was needed. We need to break that momentum, and this was the episode we needed. Now we're back on track, I feel, for the rest of the season, hopefully.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. It was more like Dodgems than Formula 1 today, wasn't it?
If you're referring to the first bit of contact I had with Gasly at the early stages, yeah, I would say so. I'm like a frickin' idiot magnet out here, and the engineer's not said anything to the other side.
Things are looking up after last week, aren't they?
Yeah, Claire, things are looking on the up for sure. I can't really pinpoint on why they're on the up, but let's just carry on this whole mantra of trying to keep our engine side of the car happy and just compliment them once more. I mean, why not?
You gained a lot of positions during the race, didn't you?
Yeah, the car was looking pretty handy in the corners, of course. Very, very nimble, in fact, actually, when we were making some moves there on the Ferrari, especially in Hamilton as well, trying to navigate him. So the lightness and the chassis worked out well there for the first time. It's really showed through.
How did your team respond to the poor conditions today?
Well, you gotta know, the team don't exactly have any kind of resources for weather. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a guy just sticking his hand out and kind of seeing how many rain droplets fall on his hand. So, to say that, they did a pretty damn decent job out there.
Appreciate your time.
So that was the first time in a long while where I've been able to be pretty positive and chirpy through the entire interview there with Claire, and she didn't ask me any stupid questions as well, so that's a double positive in my book. So there we are then, leading the championship once again. It's all so close though, only 12 points in it to Vettel, but Vettel and Gasly are level on points. Verstappen not too far back, so it's only about, we're not even halfway through the season yet, but it's been that close over 9 rounds, so I think there's plenty more action to come. Constructors wise, obviously we maintain a pretty consistent showing at Williams, which is the only kind of good thing and positive thing that's been kind of constant throughout these last few episodes. Yes, I've been struggling a little bit compared to Gasly, but both of us have been consistent enough to keep the kind of pressure on Ferrari and keep that lead going there. But at the end of this episode then, we go ahead and repurchase the 2 failed upgrades. I guess we'll never know if that other upgrade was indeed an actual downforce upgrade or a fake one. Apparently, I don't know. We just don't know these days at Williams. But these 2 hopefully will be guaranteed coming in next episode. But you never know at Williams. I'm sure they'll find a way to fail those 2 upgrades despite them being impossible to fail in the game mechanics. You just never know really with this team. But guys, if you did enjoy that episode, a much needed result for us and the win at the Austrian Grand Prix, then be sure to smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy us today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.